All right, welcome back to another Money Magnum reaction show. The Spurs end up winning game 3, 115 to 111. And the Spurs now are on the board as they now still trail the NBA Finals to the New York Knicks 2-1 right now. And what a game by Victor Wembanyama. Had 39 minutes, 32 points, 11 of 18 shooting. So he looked much better, much more dominant. At first, it felt kind of pedestrian, but definitely his impact was much better in this game. They didn't really bully him as physical, or when they did, he felt that absorption of that physicality and definitely responded really well. Stephon Castle had another great game. He had 38 minutes logged in, 23 points, had about 13 points in the first half, and he shot the ball better. He was 8 of 14 from the field, 2 of 5 from three. So we're going to get into all of that real quickly. Before you get started, if anybody is out there joining me, hit the like and subscribe, and let's see if we can get some people here. I'm going to try and this live off, for the second time. Hopefully we can do also a game 4. So I'll be available game 4. So hopefully you guys are out there and able to join me. I know there's other platforms that you could be watching right now, like Kenny and Charles at Inside the NBA on ESPN, or you could be watching Nightcap with Shannon Sharp, Ocho Cinco, and ISO Joe Johnson, or you could be watching Speakeasy with Emmanuel Acho and their crew as well. So, but I welcome the fact that you guys were willing to join me if you can. If not, you could just tune in a little later, for the replay. So once again, the San Antonio Spurs win today, game 3 in New York. First time since 1999 a finals has been played in Madison Square Garden. Definitely it lived up to the hype. All the glitz and the glamour, all the celebrities were there. So if anybody who's who was there, definitely they were in the building. But unfortunately, the New York Knicks just fell short today. And I'll tell you what, though, I mean, it looked like clearly that the Knicks were definitely under the pressure tonight. And, they did get some good contributions. OG Anunoby, 28 points, 3 of 7 from 3, 9 of 13 from the field. Karl Anthony Towns was pedestrian, didn't look good today, only 11 points, 0 for 2 from 3, 4 of 10 from the field. That clearly hurt the Knicks today. Josh Hart looked very good. They're continuing to leave him open for 3. He takes advantage. He had 16 points today, 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. And Jalen Brunson, 35 minutes, 32 points, 11 of 25 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. We're going to get into all of it today. And there's a couple of things that definitely were eye-opening in the game, definitely in the fourth quarter, where the play just got sloppy, and then the Knicks just continued to foul at the end and just were in the penalty early in the fourth quarter. And then the second thing that kind of was eye-opening to me is when Jalen Brunson committed his 4th foul in the third quarter, the length of time that he sat by the time he came in the game in the fourth quarter was a bit concerning to me. But we're going to get into all of it right now. Let's break it down. So start of the first quarter, the Spurs definitely absorbed all of the noise and all the great crowd that the Knicks was bringing into the game. They got up to a quick start. They looked aggressive. Stephon Castle was definitely a part of that. Victor Wembanyama scored the first 4 points of the game. He looked phenomenal, and continued to look that way. But I thought that Stephon Castle was brilliant today. In the first half, he definitely contributed in the game and looked really good. And the Spurs got off to a 19-9 start, ended up finishing the quarter, winning the quarter 33-22. Then later on in the game, going into the second quarter, the Knicks definitely dominated the second quarter, led by Jalen Brunson. Definitely in that quarter, he came alive in that quarter, and I thought that the Knicks completely took over defensively. Just a couple things that the Spurs continue to do is shoot early in the shot clock. I think that hurts them because when they needed to close out the game in the fourth quarter, I think they paid a heavy price for that, but going into that second quarter, the Knicks came out on an 8-0 run, cut it down to 40-38, and then took the first lead of the game at 50-49. And then they completely dominated that quarter, 42-24, finished the quarter on a 10-1 run. And by halftime, the Knicks were up 64-57. So, and in that first half, OG Anunoby had 17 points, followed by Jalen Brunson with 15. Stephon Castle had 18 in the half, while Victor Wembanyama had 15 points in the first half. So, I mean, clear from what I saw, the Spurs came out with some urgency. They needed to do that. They couldn't afford to be down 3-0 in this series. And I thought that the Spurs came out with the right attitude and the right efficiency. They still continue. Obviously, both teams are well defensively, but they continue to turn the ball over carelessly and just shooting too many shots, and also falling in love with the three a little bit too much, knowing that they could have probably gotten their more of their points either from the mid-range or, maybe being more aggressive in the paint. But they did do better from the free throw line. I mean, there was a time where they were just missing some free throws. They were 18 of 22 from the free throw line today. They looked a whole lot better. Excuse me, that was the Knicks. Let me get to the Spurs. The Spurs were actually 25 of 32 from the line, 78%. The Knicks actually shot 82% from the line, 18 of 22, but they definitely were the aggressors. They got to the line more, and I felt that the Knicks putting themselves in the penalty in the fourth quarter definitely hurt them. And then we'll get to a lot of things that happened in the fourth quarter. But in the second half, Josh Hart started to hit some threes, and they were continuing to apply that strategy by leaving him wide open for three, and he's continued to take advantage of that open opportunity, hitting a couple threes in this game, and especially in the third quarter. The Spurs ended up, following up with the 7-0 run and took the lead 79-76. Jalen Brunson at that moment had picked up his fourth foul with 4:29 to go in the third quarter, and I thought that the Spurs were able to control the game from that point to the midway of the fourth quarter, and then they were able to have just about an arm's length away from the Knicks to finish the game and close the game out. But I thought that the fourth foul that Jalen Brunson picked up in that third quarter was huge. And the fact that he had to sit from the moment of 4:29 to go in the third, and then the Spurs end up winning that third quarter 35-27. They were up by 1 after 3. And then heading into the fourth quarter, things got a little sloppy. The Knicks could not convert a field goal in the first 3 to almost 4 minutes while Jalen Brunson was still sitting. He did not come back until the 9:18 mark of the fourth quarter. So he technically sat for about 13 game minutes of that between his fourth foul and the time he came back in. And I thought Coach Mike Brown left him on the bench a little bit too long. I think they could have salvaged 2 more minutes and brought him earlier in the game where they were struggling from the field and things were just getting wild. Both teams were just missing field goals, missing shots. They could not hit a shot for about a while. And then the Spurs, little by little, were just extending their lead. And then there was a series of challenges that were overturned that could have tipped the game into the Spurs' favor very easily. One being the push by Keldon Johnson on, I believe, OG Anunoby, if I'm not mistaken, pushing him into Wembanyama to create the foul. And that was going to be a 3-point play, and that was overturned. And then the Spurs also had their challenge overturned on an out-of-bounds play, actually on a foul on Victor Wembanyama, where Carl Anthony Towns, who I'll tell you what, though, was the player that just was not effective in the game. And he had picked up a foul. Well, there was an out of bounds play where Cat had fouled Victor Wembanyama on the arm. They reviewed that play. That was overturned. That put them back on the line, and they were only down by 5, I believe. And then Wemby was able to extend the lead to 7 at that point. And then there was other series of challenges that the Knicks needed to have in the beginning of the early in that quarter, in the mid part of that quarter. They ended up winning those challenges, but they ended up losing a timeout. They had to have them at those times to keep the game close. They got it as close as 3, but the Spurs just found a way to keep them at arm's distance. And a couple of key shots, especially late in that game when the Knicks were only down by 3. De'Aaron Fox hits a key shot from just about the free throw line with 12.2 seconds to go to put him up 5 at 113-108. The Knicks definitely cut the lead when OG Anunoby hit a 3 and cut it to 2, but then a couple free throws by Stephon Castle extended it to 4, and that's all she wrote. And that's how the San Antonio Spurs were able to hang on 115-111. At the moment, there isn't anybody that has joined the live here, and I understand with that, and that's fine. I don't mind if I don't have anybody, but I'm just giving my analysis of the game. I won't take too much of you guys' time, but like I said, the Spurs desperately needed this victory to get back in the series. Now it shifts to game 4, still in New York, but I think New York is going to have all the pressure. If they thought they had pressure in this game 3, and it looked like with all the celebrities and all the hype and all the excitement from the crowd and all the New Yorkers that they wanted to see the Knicks pull this out, I think the Knicks just fell a little short, succumbed to the pressure early in that game. They struggled in the beginning of the game, and they were playing catch up for most of it. Although there were at times they did take the lead, but they didn't even have the lead for most of this game at all. This was all Spurs for the most part, and Victor Wembanyama's 32 points in the game proved to be massive, as his team is now only down 2-1. So, like I said, if you get a chance, like and subscribe. I also going to be doing some World Cup analysis during the World Cup, and you'll be getting a lot of reaction, whether on mobile or right here on YouTube. And I hope that you were able to join me on that. And I definitely welcome your opinion. So if you happen to see this live or later on, please comment below. What did you think of game 3 today in New York? Or did you attend the game, for example? Is there anybody from New York that attended the game? Let me know how that experience was. And if you think that if you have faith in the New York Knicks can still come back, at least get a split in New York, bringing it to San Antonio to game 5 up 3-1, or will San Antonio bear down and get another road win going back to San Antonio with the series tied? So just that is my analysis for the game. I think it was, like I said, it was awesome. There was other guys that contributed off the bench. Dylan Harper, 13 points, 5 of 18 shooting. Didn't have a great shooting night, 1 of 8 from 3, but Dylan Harper definitely is made for this type of moment. He is something special. This guy is just a rookie, and he is going to continue to get better. He struggled today, although he scored 13 points from the bench. He is their number 1 guy right now from the bench. Keldon Johnson just wasn't as effective. I mean, he got into a little foul trouble. He was one of 4 from the line, from the 3-point line, 3 of 5 today. He was a little bit efficient, only had 7 points. But definitely Dylan Harper has been the number 1 guy off the bench for the Spurs, and he has paid dividends for them. Although Carl Anthony Towns struggled today, they did get contributions from Jordan Clarkson, 10 points in 13 minutes, 4 of 7 shooting from the field, 2 of 2 from 3. So I thought he was effective today. He was probably the number 1 guy off the bench that looked great. Most of their points came from their starters. Like I said, 28 points from OG Anunoby, 16 from Josh Hart. Mikal Bridges was in foul trouble. Definitely was not very good. Only scored 2 points, 1 of 5. Didn't hit a 3-point basket. but his plus minus was plus 11, ironically. So, you know, if you can get some better contributions. I think a guy that also struggled off the bench was Landry Shamet. Put in 23 minutes, only scored 3 points, 1 of 8 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3. That's not going to get it done. And he was literally the worst person on the floor, arguably. His plus minus was minus 20 in this game, and he really hurt the Knicks. Him and Karl Anthony Towns really hurt them today. I think they needed more from Karl Anthony Towns after having 2 great games in San Antonio, 2 double doubles today, just barely 11 points. He just didn't look like himself today. And I expect a better game 4 out of him. Brunson is always going to come through, and OG Anunoby, which basically made up for the points that Karl Anthony Towns had today. Basically, I don't know if we can expect that from OG. I thought he is the big wild card in this entire series. If he plays well, I think they look more complete than New York Knicks are. And for the Spurs, De'Aaron Fox now has been playing better, put in 37 minutes, although he only scored 12 points in the game, hit the big shot at the end, 4-14 from the field, and then 0-5 from 3, still continues to struggle from 3-point land, and just, but he hit the key shots when they needed to, and he was definitely effective today. But like I said, if you like this video, like and subscribe. If you don't get a chance to see it today live, actually, you can go ahead and see the replay and see exactly what my analysis was for today's game 3 in New York. The final score, the Spurs come out on top 115-111 over the New York Knicks. And go ahead and comment below. Do you still believe in the Knicks? Or if you're a Spurs fan, do you believe the Spurs will be back in the series to tie the game in game 4? I will be back for game 4 for a reaction in 2 days, as well as I'm going to give you some reaction from the World Cup as well. I'll be putting a video out on Wednesday morning, June 10th, and my predictions on the World Cup. So check that out. So I will see you next time.